In this section, we'll show you how applications are brought into Application Workspace using pre-built connectors and how to manage those applications once they're available. This is the starting point for populating both your Workspace portal and catalog. In Application Workspace, packages are essentially applications, so throughout this training, I'll use those terms interchangeably. But packages don't always have to contain traditional applications. They can also include scripts or a collection of pre-built Application Workspace actions designed to automate tasks and streamline workflows. The ultimate goal? To make your life as an admin easier by using automation to deliver consistent, efficient outcomes. You can think of connectors as the bridge between certain things, whether that be our Recast software catalog, the Setup Store, the Microsoft Store, Omnisa Horizon, Citrix Storefront, Dizzy and Frame, etc. In this course, we are operating under the assumption that the connectors we will be talking about have already been configured in your environment. The primary source for most organizations is the Setup Store connector. This connector provides access to thousands of curated, ready-to-use software packages, including popular tools like Zoom, VLC, Chrome, and many more. These packages are maintained and kept up to date by Recast software. When new versions are published, you can choose to either apply them automatically or control when updates occur. Let's jump in and see what this process looks like in action. In my lab environment, I'll start by navigating to Manage Connectors. Here you can see the list of connectors available in my workspace. To bring in a package, I can either click once on a connector and then select resources from the ribbon, or double-click on the connector and access resources from there. Once the catalog loads, I can begin searching for an application. Something to note, by default, whenever you land on a page with a search bar in Application Workspace, the cursor will automatically focus on the field, so you can just start typing. Let's search for something common, like Adobe Acrobat Reader. You'll notice several entries in the results. The list includes helpful metadata like product, branch, version, type, platform, language, manufacturer, release date, and categories. In this case, Adobe packages are broken into two types, install and update. I want the latest version, so I'll select the Adobe Acrobat Reader DC Update All Languages x64 package, which is commonly used in my environment. Let's double-click the package to start the import wizard. Here, I can either accept the default package name or rename it. The default type is Managed, which we'll leave in place. Managed packages support automatic updates and contain locked action sets, while unmanaged packages offer full flexibility but won't auto-update. Next, we choose where to publish this package. By default, it goes into the development stage, unless set up differently initially by the admin who created the connector. Application Workspace uses the DTAP methodology: development, test, acceptance, and production. Think of these as progressive deployment rings, but you don't have to use them all. We'll leave Update Existing Packages unchecked. If this box is selected, it will overwrite an existing package. If unchecked and a duplicate exists, an error will occur. Clicking Next brings us to the Setup Details tab. Here we're warned that this is an update package, meaning it will only install if the base application is already present. We also see a link to a KB article related to Adobe, as well as any associated CVEs. Clicking on a CVE provides more information and helpful external links for security review. Let's click Next, and now we hit a dependency. This is expected. Since we selected an update package, it requires the base install of Adobe Reader. Workspace flags missing dependencies clearly, and the process to resolve them is straightforward. We'll double-click the Adobe Reader dependency to begin importing it, following the same wizard flow. We're also missing Microsoft Visual C++ 2013 redistributable, which is another dependency. Same process again, double-click, follow the wizard, and skip entitlements for now. Once the redistributable dependency is resolved, the state changes to available, and we can proceed. For the base Adobe Reader install, I'll open the Customize tab and click Configure. Here we see a range of application-specific options. For instance, I can disable Acrobat.com access, set Reader as the default PDF viewer, toggle Acrobat-specific settings. These options vary by app, and the UI surfaces only what's available. But the days of searching through docs to figure out what command line switches the installer accepts are over. Recast software has already done the legwork for you. We'll click Save and then continue through entitlements, which we'll cover more in the next section, and then click Finish. We're now back at the original update package. We'll finish this wizard as well, and just like that, we've brought in Adobe Reader via the Setup Store connector. In the world of modern endpoint management, a large portion of admins will be responsible for managing Windows devices. However, Apple devices, especially Macs, are becoming increasingly common in enterprise environments. One of the advantages of the Setup Store is that it's not limited to Windows applications. It also includes more than 1,000 Mac applications, making cross-platform management much easier. When configuring your Setup Store connectors, best practice is to create a separate connector for each scenario, one for Windows and one for Mac. This keeps things organized and makes package management more straightforward. Let's walk through the process of bringing a Mac app into Application Workspace using our Setup Store connector. Back in the Management portal, I'll go to the Connectors section, select my Mac Setup Store connector, and click the Resources button. Once the catalog loads, I can browse the available applications, choose the one I want, and follow the exact same steps we used earlier when bringing in the Acrobat Reader package. As you can see, the process is identical regardless of platform. It really is that simple. Whether you're managing Windows or Mac OS, bringing packages into Application Workspace through the Setup Store is fast, familiar, and consistent. Let's switch to the Microsoft Store connector, another commonly used option. Back in Connectors, I'll select the Microsoft Store and click Resources. Unlike Setup Store, this connector doesn't load the entire catalog by default. It requires a search. Let's search for the snipping tool. Once we find the right app, we can either double-click or click Create Package. The wizard looks the same, but one difference. Microsoft Store apps can be published directly to production by default. Since these apps are vetted by Microsoft, admins often skip internal testing, but you can still modify the stage if needed. No dependencies appear for the snipping tool, so we'll skip through entitlements again and click Finish. Now that we've imported 3 packages, let's walk through the key components inside a package. I'll navigate back to the Acrobat Reader install package I brought in earlier. In the Overview tab, you can rename the package, change its icon, and adjust priority, which affects the install order during event-based deployments, lower equals earlier. Events will show install, launch, and error data, useful for troubleshooting. Auditing tracks who made what changes to the package, requires enabling the database event collector. Entitlements define who gets the package. We'll cover this in our next section. Dependencies show what the package relies on and what relies on it. Under tags, you can apply pre-created organizational tags for sorting or policy targeting. The catalog section controls how the package appears to users. From Overview, you can mark the app as featured, update the description or website, customize visuals and branding. In Reviews, you'll see user-submitted feedback. Admins can control visibility through access policies. Media lets you add screenshots, banners, or training videos. FAQ is great for tips and troubleshooting. Categories and licenses organize access and usage. The Releases tab shows package variations across DTAP stages. Only development can be edited. We don't recommend assigning users here since all changes are live. Use tests for pilot groups, acceptance for sign-off, and production for general rollout. The Shortcuts screen defines icons for apps, like Office apps within Microsoft 365. Actions are where the install, launch, and uninstall logic lives. Variables can store reusable values like license keys. Filters restrict deployment to certain OSs or device types. Let's look at the install action for Adobe Reader. We're installing the Visual C++ dependency, but only if needed. Each action has filters. In this case, it checks if the file exists, if the registry key is present, or if the file version matches what's expected. To move a package between stages, just drag from development to the next ring, like test, and name the release. An asterisk on a stage means changes have not yet been promoted. In this demo, we imported apps from the Setup Store and Microsoft Store connectors, resolved dependencies, and reviewed package structure. In the next section, we'll dive deeper into creating custom applications and managing action sets.